against me also. And, and the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, and their netting troughs, being bound up in their cloths upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel had done according to the words of Moses. And they had demanded of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahweh had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they gave to them such things as they demanded. And they recovered from the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 1 foot, six wait, about 600,000 on foot that were men beside children, and all mixed a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, and very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victuals. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel, who dwelt in Egypt, were 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day, it came to pass that all the host of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to it is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is the night that Yahweh be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. And Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man's servant that is bought for money, even when thou hast circumcised him, then shall ye eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not tarry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, ye shall keep the Passover to Yahweh. Let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Thus did all the children of Israel, as Yahweh commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. Exodus the 12th chapter. Hallelujah.
Good morning, class. I would like to remind everyone at this time to please quiet all cell phones and electronic devices so that our class is not disturbed. Choir.
Tell me what would you do
without Yahshua?
Tell me what would you do
Without Yahshua?
Tell me what would you do
Without Yahshua?
in your life? Tell me what would you say?
Without Yahshua?
I want to know how would you pray?
Without Yahshua?
Tell me what would you do without Yahshua in your life? Tell me what would you do?
Without Yahshua?
Who would see you through?
Without Yahshua?
Wouldn't know right from wrong
Without Yahshua?
in your life. Tell me what would you say?
Without Yahshua?
I want to know how would you pray?
Without Yahshua?
Tell me what would you do without Yahshua in your life? Tell me what would you do?
Without Yahshua?
Who would see you through?
Without Yahshua?
Wouldn't know right from wrong
Without Yahshua?
in your life. Tell me what would you say?
Without Yahshua?
I want to know how would you pray?
Without Yahshua?
Tell me what would you do without Yahshua in your life? I'm glad I got Yahshua in my life. Helps me on my journey day by day. And hey, every time I feel this spirit moving, yeah, moving in my heart, I'll pray. I couldn't get along
Without Yahshua?
wouldn't know how to pray,
Without Yahshua?
wouldn't know what to say
Without Yahshua?
in your life. Angels couldn't sing,
Without Yahshua?
joy bells wouldn't ring.
Without Yahshua?
I couldn't get along,
Without Yahshua?
couldn't pat my feet.
Without Yahshua?
Tell me, what would you do without Yahshua in your life? I'm glad I got Yahshua in my life. Helps me on my journey day by day. And hey, every time I feel this spirit moving, yeah, moving in my heart, I'll pray. I couldn't get along,
Without Yahshua?
wouldn't know how to sing,
Without Yahshua?
wouldn't know how to pray
Without Yahshua?
in your life, wouldn't know how to sing,
Without Yahshua?
couldn't do,
Without Yahshua?
wouldn't know how to pray
Without Yahshua? Without Yahshua?
in your life,
Without Yahshua?
in your life,
Without Yahshua?
in your life,
Without Yahshua?
without Yahshua in your life.
When Israel was in Egypt's land,
Let my people go.
oppressed so hard that they could not stand.
Let my people go.
Come down,
Moses,
way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh,
Pharaoh, let my people go.
10 plagues plagues rain down on Egypt's land.
Let my people go.
Egyptian households mourn their dead.
Let my people go.
Come down, Moses,
Moses,
way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh,
Pharaoh, let my people go.
now get thy out of Pharaoh's land.
Let my people go.
And bless me also where I stand.
Let my people go.
Come down,
Moses,
Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh,
let my people go.
as Israel traveled through the sea.
Let my people go.
Oh, Pharaoh would not let them be.
Let my people go.
Come down, Moses,
Moses,
way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh,
let my people go.
now Yahweh drowned him and his hosts.
Let my people go.
Oh, victory shout from Canaan's coast.
Let my people go.
Come down, Moses,
Moses,
way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh,
let my people go.
won't you come down, Moses,
Moses,
way down in Egypt's land. Tell Pharaoh,
let my people go. Saved his sons from Pharaoh's hand by his righteousness. Away, away to Canaan's land. Truly we are blessed.
Through divided waters, Yah.
Thank you, choir. Just a reminder, we are having a General Assembly meeting, so we will be ending class around 12:30. All right, our first speaker for this morning today will be Dr. Susan Craig. Oh, is it?
Yes, I did.
Well, she's got it. Hold on to this or I'll go get it.
Yes, would not be good for me. Need a shadow.
Hello? Okay. Make sure.
Thanks. Good morning. Well, I came into class this morning and I heard Happy Easter because I'm the one who's giving the Easter lecture. Okay. Okay, I'm a little shaky nervous because it's been a couple years, but you know, I got all, and look who's here. She was here the last time I did it. Okay. And she didn't know about it, right? No. Okay. All right. I was like, wow, Yahshua. Okay, so now let's let my heart stop beating so hard first, because it's harder knowing you're going to do something than it is just, you know. Okay. All right, for many years I've been doing this, so I got a lot of notes here. I went over them to try and be able to crunch it up for us so that we can get to exactly what we want to get to. So first of all, I want to remind you that that where Easter comes from is Passover. That's what the Christians and the pagans are trying to reconcile to, is the Passover. So this morning we had Exodus, the first chapter read, right? 12th chapter read. Might as well be the first, but anyway, because it is sort of, think about it. Anyway, so, and that's talking about the Passover that children of Israel had to do before they left out of the land of Egypt, and that they were to keep that memorial forever, correct? All right, now that memorial forever meant forever until Yahshua the Messiah came in and fulfilled. Okay, but now for some time, people after Yahshua's death, burial, and resurrection and outpouring of the Holy Spirit, Pentecost with the Jews and then the Gentile conversion, that they continued to keep the Passover for hundreds of years. Okay, and so what came about at some point, and I've got dates here. If you want to have dates, I'll give them to you later, but I'm not going to go into that. At some point, there became a controversy called the Quattrodeciman controversy. Now, Quattrodeciman means 14th, just means 14. And what that was about was that the Jews who were keeping the Passover were arguing with others in the church world that was starting to be, Christianity was starting to rise up. And their argument was whether should they keep it on the 14th day of the month or should they have this Passover on the Sunday, because Easter was starting to evolve into Christianity. So that controversy, really, there was a meeting that they had, about 2 or 3 different meetings, and I've got that history too, where the Bishop of Rome and one of the Jewish leaders they meet up and they talk about whether or not they would do. Well, they left it, they didn't proceed with it. They just decided that Passover was still going to be the way Passover was, and Easter was going to be celebrated the way it was. And then it came along around, it was around 325 when Constantine became the emperor of Rome, that at that time there was this issue as to whether or not have it on Sunday, to have Easter celebrated not on the 14th, but on Sunday. Okay, so Constantine issued an order and just flat out just said, now Constantine had a big problem with Jews anyway. He did a lot of things to squash Jewish religion and Jewish practices and everything in Rome. And so, and wherever else he had control of, whatever part of the world he had control of. And so, he just made it Sunday. He just determined that Sunday would be when Easter would be celebrated. Okay, so I wasn't going to go there first because I was going to go back to, so I've established that was where Sunday worship of Easter came about. Now, that wasn't a set date at that time. And you have to keep in mind that Easter is called a movable feast. And a movable feast means that it can change dates as to when it is celebrated. So that's why you have Easter this year. Is it April 26th, I think? Does anybody even know? I don't. It's 3 weeks from today, I think. Okay. Or 2 weeks from today, right. Okay, it's April 21st? Okay. All right, so some years it can be as early as March 23rd. So, and you also have to remember that in the Eastern churches, they celebrate it according to the Julian calendar, and in the Western churches, we celebrate it according to the Gregorian calendar. So their Easter Sunday is not always going to coincide with our Easter Sunday. And what you ought to be getting out of this, everything I'm about to say, is just pure confusion, because this is where it came from, is Babylon. confusion. Okay, so it's just, it's like, well, what is it? Is it this or is it that? And that is the greatest thing about this teaching, is that Yahweh never changes. Okay, so they have the two different dates, and it's according to the now how they managed to come up with the date in the Western Church is that it is the first Sunday after the full moon after the vernal equinox. Honor after the vernal equinox. Now, get this. This year, the full moon was on the vernal equinox. According to the astronomical calendar, which dates the vernal equinox on the 21st. But guess what? The church went around that. The church called the vernal equinox, what date? March 20th. So that way they could have it, the full moon, on or after. Because if it falls on, now see, the thing is that this is the part that got me confused. Because it fell on the vernal equinox, Easter should have been Sunday after the vernal equinox. According to how they have it calculated, it should have been that date. But because now they can do their little manipulation and say, but we don't look at it that way. This is ecclesiastical, or this is astronomical. Okay, or there's another one too, and I don't remember what it was. But anyway, everybody's got their different way of calculating what time it is. And guess what? Nobody knows. So this Easter will be the 21st. Okay, now the next thing you want to talk about, or you want to know about, which I don't think I knew till I did the research, and that is, where does Easter even come into play? Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about goddesses and what and queens of heaven, because they call Mary in the Roman Catholic Church the Queen of Heaven. Now, where did she get that title, and how did that come about? But that way, 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 way back in Babylon. After Noah, after the flood, after the families went out and spread among the earth, after the flood, when people went out and established their countries and their areas of living and began to establish their ways of worship, because they didn't worship Yahweh. Okay, so now what happens is that what comes along is this man named Nimrod, who's called a mighty hunter, and it's in the Bible. Talks about this Nimrod. What it doesn't talk about in the Bible is about this woman he met at a brothel, whose name was Semiramis. All right, now he married Semiramis and made her his queen over his land, over what he had taken, and it talks about the cities that he established. Okay, so now what happens is this Semiramis, okay, she is one of these type of women, according to everything I read, that really she's going to take over. She's going to become the controlling one in this empire, all right? And what she does, where I read in one place, is that she sets up this feast that they have annually, that they usually take a ram out. And what they do with this ram is they take this ram and they tear it limb to limb. This is part of their feast and their partying for this New Year celebration they do. And they tear it apart, and then they have revelry and orgies and all this stuff, but they just totally murder this ram, which has been set up from the year before as a lamb. So, because what they'll do is they'll show you how this tearing apart of this ram is the end of the old year, and they bring in a little lamb. Okay, now it said lamb and ram, but now she flips it a little bit here, and what she does is she tells all her high priests and priestesses, we're going to do it to the king. We're going to bring Nimrod out. Because remember, they're all drunken, and this is revelry and everything. And so they're going to bring Nimrod out, and they're going to tear Nimrod from limb to limb. Well, that's the story that I read. But in essence, she has him murdered to take him out of the way. Now Nimrod is dead. Now she has control, and she takes over where Nimrod wasn't really officiating very well in the first place. So Semiramis now is in control. Well, when Nimrod is with Semiramis, she comes up pregnant before he's died. She comes up pregnant, but it's not his child. this is going to be the child that everyone knows as Tammuz, but also known as Damu or Damuzi in Mesopotamia. So this child is now, this is her illegitimate child that she's giving birth to. And what she does is after he has died, she tells everyone that this child that she's given birth to after he has died, because she's pregnant, brings forth this child and says, this is the resurrected Nimrod. This is the king. And so now she establishes Tammuz as the king in Babylon, or in Babel, all right? So now you have Semiramis, but she controls this child. She does everything she's in the background. Tammuz is the king now, right? But she's controlling him. All right, now Tammuz, he lives for 40 years. And all of these principles are going to be carried on. This is the part that you just really, I mean, I'm telling you a story, but if you see how this overturns and keeps on going through history in a different manifestation as it goes, the principle always remains the same. And so what she does is he dies at the age of 40. So says that he was killed by a boar, and that, he died when he was 40 years old. All right, so now what happens with this Semiramis is that, all right, now we have to go back. We have to go to Daniel's vision for just a minute. Now, Daniel's vision, he has a vision. You want to get that, just get that of the figure that he sees in his vision. Could you just get that for me real quick? I asked Joshua, please, Joshua, pull this together this morning for me, because I'm like all over the board with these notes. And some of my notes were like not, and Terry's asked me to take these notes and put them up on the Google Drive. That's going to take all summer. Because this is how I do my notes. And I don't think people would appreciate the Google Drive to look like that. I mean, I've got everything just slaughtered on here, so it's going to have to be redone. But I think I'll try and do it, because I've got a couple of pages of it, and I thought maybe if I could get it broke down into it, it could go on the Google Drive, and then everybody could just grab that and come up here and do an Easter lecture. Okay, because, well, I am going to be like 65, so it's about time somebody else takes over. I've been doing it for 15 years. It was easy when you're 50, I thought. All right, do you got that?
What exactly did you
I want the vision that he has of the figure. No. I want this. I want this right here. I want this figure right here, because I want to point some things out as we bring Semiramis out of Mystery Babylon.
Daniel 2:31.
There you go.
Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible.
Right.
This image's head was of fine
Daniel's
gold.
interpreting this vision that the king had, this dream, and this is what he's seeing right here. This is what he's seeing. So you got Nebuchadnezzar's dream. You got him laying down here, and this is his dream, and this is what he's telling. Daniel's telling him what the dream is. Go ahead.
This image's head was of fine gold.
Right. Now, this was of fine gold, Babylon, read.
His breasts and his arms of silver.
Right. Silver, Media, and Persia, read.
His belly and his thighs of brass.
And his belly and his thighs as brass, Grecia, Greek.
His legs of iron. His feet part of iron and part of clay.
And so the feet were iron and clay, and so this was brass, and this represents Rome, pagan and papal Rome. Okay, go ahead.
Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon this
Now
feet.
he saw a stone that was cut out without hands, and that stone is Joshua. Okay, and it smites the image. Read. In the head. Read. So now trickle on down what's going to happen. Go ahead, read.
Smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
Right.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors.
Right.
And the wind carried them away.
Okay, that's good.
Did you want?
I just wanted to point that out and point out those countries or those
Did you want the
areas
interpretation or no?
of the? Yeah, you can read the interpretation.
Okay,
Yeah, because
I'll skip down to 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the Allah of heaven hath given thee a kingdom of power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven shall he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art his head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior
Stop.
to
Let's
thee.
stop every time we get to that. Let's go, because then I'll point this out as I go.
Okay.
So thou art the head of gold, and that's Babylon. That's Nebuchadnezzar, which also equals the lion, all right, that he sees the images of later. So that's the lion. And now what we have here is we have the combination at this time in worship. And by the way, Semiramis and Tammuz and Nimrod are all worshipped as gods and goddesses. They're set up as deities of their lands. They're of the peoples. Okay, so now you have Nimrod and Semiramis here, and later on you'll have identified also as it goes on down. They begin to worship Tammuz and Ishtar, and they also worship Bel and Inanna. All right, go ahead.
And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and a third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
All right, now this second kingdom is the arms of silver, and that's Media, Persia. And their beast is the bear. Now, who is worshipped under... Now watch, what is happening is the worship of Nimrod and Semiramis is only flipped over into the next culture. And they just find another way to worship the same spirit, but a different body. And so now over here, they start to worship Zoroaster and Anahita. Now, Zoroaster, if you go back, that's Zoroaster. How do you say it? Zoroaster? Zoroaster. Zoroasterism. That's the word we want. Zoroaster. Okay, Zoroaster or Zoroasterism. That's where this religion is set up. Okay? Now, here's the other thing. These religions of the world have not gone away. They still exist. Okay, go ahead.
And the fourth kingdom shall
I got to go to the third kingdom.
Yeah.
So the third kingdom is the belly and the thighs, and that's Greece, or Grecia, as it says here, and that is the beast, is the leopard. All right, now here in Greek or Greece, the god is Adonia and Aphrodite. All right, so now it's the same spirit. Remember, it's the same abomination. Okay, go ahead.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron.
Okay.
Which
is Rome. Pagan Rome is strong as iron. Okay. Remember how much area of the world was captured by Rome and ruled by Rome at this time. Go ahead.
For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Okay, now the fourth and terrible beast is this beast, which is not identified by anything, as it was back here, bear, leopard, and lion. Okay, so this is the most terrible beast. Now, and remember that it may have legs of iron, but the feet are mixed iron and clay, which are not going to be strongholds for very long, right? Because it's weak. All right, so the worship in pagan Rome was Bacchus and Venus. And Bacchus, if you do any research on that, that's where you get celebrations for Christmas. Is they worshipped and actually, let me see if I can see where I am. Where does it say wife?
Right there. Right where you're looking.
Oh, right here. Yeah, there it says wife. Yeah. Okay, so eventually we see Rome went to the British Isles, and Rome is and the British Isles are established. They went in there and had the big fight with the Vikings. Okay, so Rome established itself there, and what England did was they had a celebration that celebrated Bacchus, which they got from the Romans. Okay, so it's Bacchus and Venus. And then Papal Rome, it's Jesus and Mary, okay, that are celebrated. And all you, now look at, you've come all the way down from Nimrod and Semiramis, and you've come all the way down to right here in modern times, Jesus and Mary. Same stuff. Okay, same story, same stuff, same, ugh. Okay, because they don't, and the thing is that nobody goes out and looks at this stuff and says, you know, it's all by, well, if you think you can get away with the innocence of that, not for very long. All right, so now, okay, there was one little thing that I wanted to read. Oh, this is the thing. This man named Will Durant, he wrote this book called The Story of Civilization. It was called Caesar and Christ. And in volume 3, page 595, he wrote this quote, "Christianity was the last great creation of the ancient pagan world." So there are others that have, I mean, obviously the other people have read, everything I've read about Easter, if you plug it in, you know, everybody else has done the research for you. It's pagan. It's not anything, there's no holiness about it. All right, so real quick, I guess we'll go to, we'll talk about how they celebrate Easter. And then what you need to keep in mind is that most of this came from you know, they think they're just doing their Christian part of what the Jews do with Passover, basically, okay? And a lot of this, you know, everything that they do, they bring in. Now, there are so many abominations and atrocities that go on with the worship of these gods and goddesses on down through that they've been picked up through time. You know, that these same things that they were doing back here, murders and orgies and all sorts of revelry and everything else that they were doing back here, they just carried it on down. They carried on down, they carried it on down, and they've carried it on down to here. But they make it look innocent now because they use a little lamb and they use a little bit of an egg, you know, boiled egg, colored and all this stuff. But what it represents, that's the part that nobody realizes, that if you did realize this, why are you doing it? Why would you even do it? I mean, once this sinks into you, you're just going to say, sorry, honey, we're not going to do this anymore because we know better now, right? Because really, it's just a waste of time. All right, so first of all, the first thing that comes about when they begin to celebrate Easter, besides the fact that now I'm going to read this to you real quick. Oh, maybe I won't. All right. So they celebrate what is called Mardi Gras. That's a Tuesday, about 40 days before Easter. They call it Mardi Gras. In the UK, they call it Shrove Tuesday, S-H-R-O-V-E. The Shrove comes from something about the fishermen and their baskets, and what they would do at this time before Lent began. I can't remember where I have that written. Maybe I didn't even bring that paper. But it talked about the fishermen and their shrove baskets. Okay, so anyway, what they do on Mardi Gras is they basically take all their leaven and they cook it all up. Now, what are they copying? They're copying nothing but the unleavened bread that the Hebrews had to do when they left Egypt. Okay, they had to, and that's all it said right there this morning, she read, that's all they took with them when they left was their unleavened bread that they'd made. They didn't prepare any victuals, it said. So they went out of the land of Egypt with their unleavened bread. So now we come down to Christianity, and Christianity says, okay, so now what we'll do, and basically everybody's tried a punchki. Okay, good for you, because they're disgusting. Because punchkis, to me, you want to have 3,000 calories in one meal? No. One bun? And what they've done is they've taken all their stuff out of their pantry. This is what the Polish people would do, is take all of, and that punchki is Polish, and they would take out their leaven and everything, and they would make a donut and fill it with everything, you know, and their oils and everything. So that's where you get a punchki. The king cake, I haven't read anything about a king cake. I know it is. I know it is. Yeah, I have no idea. Oh, yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, the king cake probably came from the Caribbean or something. And so, you know, they had their way of what I'm just using a punchki for an example. I mean, you know, I don't know, maybe in other, besides Caribbean and Poland or whatever, maybe in other countries they have something else that they make out of everything that they've got in their cupboard. So that now they're basically unleavened, but they're not unleavened, because I had a Jewish Avon lady many years ago who told me she had to go home and get ready for Passover, and she had to go home and vacuum and clean out every nook and cranny, crevice, and everything of anything that might have crumb that might have leaven in it, because she was getting ready to celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, anyway, Christianity kind of adopted that a little bit, but I don't think they really do that anymore. I'm sure they still have leavened bread. Okay, so that's the beginning of, this is the day before the beginning of Lent. Now, the next day after that is Ash Wednesday. Yep. Yeah, I knew that. I'm reading something else. Okay, I'm just saying what I've already written down, so I'm good. Okay, so Ash Wednesday begins the Lenten period. Now, the Lenten period would have various fastings and abstinences. Now, some people, what was it that you said that one person decided they'd fast from? Oh, okay. So you can be anything. This person that she told me this year, he gave up eating in the kitchen. It can be anything that you think is a detriment to whatever you do. You know what I mean? And you think, okay, that's a habit. I want to give it up. I'm going to give it up for 40 days. So eating in the kitchen was one. Okay, and then, you know, other people will do candy bars. But now get this. I didn't realize this, and I was raised Roman Catholic. On Sunday, during the Lenten period, you can eat in the kitchen. You can have the candy bar. You can do whatever you've given up. That Sunday is reserved. You can stop it that day. Now, you know, that's another thing that you have to keep in mind. What happens with the Muslims when they celebrate Ramadan and they don't eat food, they fast, and they don't eat any food all day long, all like 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., and then they can eat anything and everything they want until they get up the next morning. By the way, this fasting and things that are, you know, this fasting stuff, it's not going to save your soul. Yahweh doesn't care if you eat meat, don't eat meat, you eat candy bars, you waste, you know, my 600-pound life, whatever. He doesn't care. This is not what Yahweh is looking for, okay, in you, all right? So it's just such ignorance, you know. It is such ignorance, and it's so, and nowadays there's no reason for it. There's just no reason for it. You got to Google. I Google everything. I can't remember the name of something. I just go in there and think, what is the name of this? And sure enough, there it is, right there. Running board. And I kept saying, runners? Okay. So now, so Ash Wednesday begins the season of Lent. And Lent goes 40 days and 40 nights. Now, why is that? Because I already talked about Tammuz, who died. And what they were doing back there is that you better get that for me in Jeremiah, weeping for Tammuz. And also keep in mind that the Jewish calendar has a month called Tammuz.
That's right.
Yep. Okay, so Lent starts that, and it should be 40 days. By the way, this fasting and abstaining during Lent started around the time of Pope Gregory I, which was 540 or 604 AD to 604 AD. So he kind of established that within the Roman Catholic Church, was Pope Gregory I. Do you have it? Yeah. I have it written down here. Yeah,
Ezekiel 8:14.
Yep.
Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz.
Maybe if you start at 13.
Okay. 13.
Mm-hmm.
And he said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do.
See what they saying? Abominations that they do. Go ahead. He's referring to it like that. Go ahead.
Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which
Right.
was toward the north.
Right.
And behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz.
His house. Okay. Yahweh's house. Read.
Then he said unto
And so they're
me,
at the temple. Okay. And there's women sitting at the temple weeping. Read.
Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's
Now, see,
house.
these women are out here weeping for Tammuz. All right. Outside the temple of Yahweh, really. Okay. Then you go to a greater abomination. And this is the next one that this just turns over for us too. Here, go ahead. Read.
Into the inner court of Yahweh's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh,
Right.
between the porch and the altar,
Right.
there were about 25 men with their backs
So
toward
look at
the
when the
temple.
high priest went into the temple, he wasn't supposed to turn his back to Yahweh. He walked in like this. Wait, he walked in like this, and he walked out like this. Everything he did, he's looking at Yahweh. He doesn't turn around, and you don't even do that with the queen today, right? You don't walk away and go, "Okay, Elizabeth, bye." You know, you walk away from her to a certain point. You watch them, and then they turn. But they're giving her honor, and they're giving him honor when that high priest goes in there. But these men, 25 of them, and they bow down as they do it. To read it.
There were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped
And their
the sun.
faces towards the east. This is the east. This is Yahweh. This is the east. Read.
And they worshipped the sun toward the east.
And they worship the sun. And that's really what's going on down here. They got the wrong sun, S-U-N, which comes from a word called sunar. So they are worshiping the sun and not Yahweh. And how are they doing that, Read?
Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they
And the
commit here?
abomination is they're mooning Yahweh. Because they're bowing down to the sun and they're mooning Yahweh with their backsides to him. And so now that's pretty much what, that's sort of, to me, that's like snubbing. It's sort of snub Yahweh, and so all the way down, from Semiramis all the way down, this whole Easter thing is really, in reality, snubbing Yahweh. Now, Yahweh's winking, and he's still on his mercy seat, but he's about right here. Okay? Really. So it's time to stop. It's time to really get rid of. That's ignorance that you don't need to take and waste your time with. All right. So they worshipped. Now this Lenten period goes on for 40 days, and the church picked this up from worshiping of Tammuz. And so now they pick this up, and they supposedly have Lent, and they fast, and they do all these things for Lent for 40 days and 40 days. But they don't do it for 40 days because it's 46 days this year to Easter. But what they do is they quit I think they quit by Friday before Easter. So that's still 43 days, So whatever, they just do what they want to do. All right, so now it also coincides with Yahshua's 40 days of fasting in the wilderness. Okay, so but Yahshua was doing that in fulfillment, not establishing it, and that might be their reason. Well, Christ did it, so we must do it. No. All right, now the next one that comes up, and there's lots of other little things that are going on in the church at that time. The Sundays have the priest dresses up in different colored garbs for certain Sundays in the Roman Catholic Church, and does certain things, whatever. And if I recall, the crucifix gets covered too, doesn't it, Tim, in a black shroud? So because Roman Catholics have our depiction is Jesus is on the cross. Now, in other churches, they don't put Jesus on the cross, but in the Roman Catholic Church, which is notorious for all of our little statuettes and statues and all that's, all the things, idols that we worship that are stone, silver, gold, whatever, we put Jesus on the cross. So we got to cover that cross with black shroud because Jesus is not dead yet. Okay, he's not risen, actually. And so we cover him with the shroud. I'm saying we because I was one of those, but I'm not anymore. So anyway, so they cover it with a shroud, and then on Easter Sunday, you go in, and there he is. He's on the cross. I'm like, what does that make a difference? He's still on the cross, and he's still dead. Okay, so now you've got that on Palm Sunday, the next, which is the Sunday before, which will be next Sunday in the calendar. On Palm Sunday, what they do is they sort of celebrate the time that Yahshua came into, was it Jerusalem? Yes. And he came in and they took palm fronds and they laid them out and as if they were laying out the welcoming mat for Yahshua to come into the Jerusalem. But that's in a fulfillment too, that palm frond. Now, do I know what it is right now? No. But you should look it up because that's what's going on. Okay, so now what happens is the Christians take the palm fronds, and they dole them out on Palm Sunday. Everybody gets a palm frond, and you can put them on them. My mom used to bring home a big old wad of them and wrap them around Jesus on the cross. Okay, so maybe she still does. So, and she's still alive, so you better not laugh. Okay, so anyway, so then what they do with those then the next year, okay, for Ash Wednesday is they burn those palm fronds and they put the ashes of them right here. How many of you saw, I remember my kids would say, why does that man have dirt on his head? Because he's celebrating Ash Wednesday. He's celebrating that he's nothing, and the point is that what you're celebrating is that you are nothing but ashes. You are nothing but dirt. Well, really, you're from the dust of the ground, not from a palm frond. So, anyway. So that's what they do, and that's Palm Sunday, and they have a mass, whatever. And then the next Thursday is what they call Maundy Thursday. I'm sorry. I said shrove baskets were what the fishermen had. No, Maundy Thursday comes from the basket used by the fishermen in English counties in which they would gather to sell merchandise. And it was customary to buy clothing for the following Easter. So that's what they did. That Maundy Thursday would be the day that you prepared to get ready for Easter Sunday and buy your finery and your hats and your gloves and your flowers and your whatever, right? Okay. So, and then I said that this could be the origin of the Easter bonnet and the notion of wearing Easter attire, which, why not? This is what they did. So that's Maundy Thursday. Now, the next day is Good Friday. What's so good about it? So it could be derived from the fact that they called it God's Day. And it got, changed up as years went by, and it became Good Friday to people who wanted to call the day that Yahshua died on the cross, right? Although now I've just read another thing yesterday that people reconciling that Jesus didn't die on a Friday because he couldn't have died on a Friday because there's no 3 days from Friday to Sunday's resurrection. And that's a whole nother lecture, how Yahweh performed that. And that's a revelation to all of us who've come in here and learned these things over the years. And it's not anything where we're going, oh, make that fit. No, this is flat out. Yahweh performed 3 days and 3 nights. Okay, so now, the next day is Easter Sunday. And what do I have written here? First of all, it's only mentioned in one place. Easter is only mentioned in one place, and that's Acts 12th chapter. And that was when Peter was imprisoned. And if you want to get that for me, we'll read that. And then I'll take the next 10 minutes and fly through some of the stuff that goes with Easter, and then I'll hopefully you learned something. Is it 12? Acts 12? I want it where it says Easter. If you got a King James Bible, just read that scripture that says 12 and 4? Okay, so now Easter, listen, first of all, Peter is 10, Peter is 10 years, he's been imprisoned. He's 10 years from Yahshua's resurrection. In prison. Peter has been imprisoned. So it's been 10 years since then. Now, we're talking about the weekend of the Passover. But in this King James Version, they say, want to read it?
Oops. Acts 12:4.
Mm-hmm.
And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison.
Right.
And
Herod, right? Okay.
And delivered him to four
soldiers. 4 sets of soldiers. How's that? 4 sets of soldiers.
Of soldiers to keep him.
Yep.
Intending after Easter.
4 sets of soldiers to keep track of one Peter? He's a problem for Herod, isn't he? Go ahead. Because they chained him. They locked him down. They had him, buried in that prison. Read.
Intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people.
Intending after Easter to bring him forth. Now, King didn't have any Easter then. No, it wasn't even labeled Easter if they were celebrating anything at that time outside of the Passover. It was the Passover, intending after the Passover to let him go. Okay, so that's the only time that Easter's ever mentioned in there, and it's not supposed to be Easter. All right, so let me just read this to you. The practices of celebrating Easter include such pagan practices as dyeing eggs, which derived from the ancient Persians and Egyptians, who gave them to friends to bring them fertility and success, and that's what that egg represents. Semiramis, and by the way, the worship of the sun goddesses, that's a whole lecture by itself about all the sun goddesses that have come down through history and what they represent and what you were actually worshiping when you worshiped these goddesses. And every nation on earth had their own goddess by her own name, and she looked like the other one in the other nation. She acted and did exactly but they all had a different name for it. Yahweh's name doesn't change. Okay, so these pagan rituals and practices were copied by the early so-called Christians. With the pagan practice of Lent, eggs would be one of the foods forbidden and then reinitiated at Easter. The Easter egg was a sacred symbol of the ancient Babylonians, because they say that Semiramis, when she landed, well, first of all, when she died, that she came back in an egg on the Euphrates River and popped out, and see, this is the other thing. They copy a death, a burial, and a resurrection. All these nations, all these abominations, that's what I should call them, abominations, copy from each other and what Yahweh has already laid down. They saw the sun rise and they saw the sun set. They saw death, burial, resurrection every day, but they thought it was the sun that they were worshiping. They didn't understand anything. So they believed that a huge egg fell from heaven into the Euphrates River, and from that egg came the goddess Astarte. Now, Semiramis is Astarte, nothing more than Astarte. The Greek word from the Septuagint is Asherah. So the other name for Semiramis, Astarte, is Asherah. The Hebrew form is Ashtaroth. She is often referred to as the mother or consort of Baal, the Babylonian sun god. And that's Judges 2:12 through 13 and 10 and 6. Groves of trees were set up or used to worship the goddess Asherah. Now that's another thing that was going on, is that they would set up these groves, and Yahweh talks about these groves where they would go and worship, and he even brings it up in Jeremiah, I think it's the 10th chapter, where he talks about, don't go out to these groves and cut down these trees and bring them into your house and set them up, because when you set up your Christmas tree, really you're ignorantly worshiping that tree. Everybody always marvels at how beautiful the tree is, and in reality it's nothing more than a worship of a goddess or a god. Okay, so, and okay, eating Easter eggs becomes a modern form of pagan worship and fertility rites of the goddess of fertility. And the rabbit or hare represents fertility, and so an Easter rabbit distributes the eggs. Let's see. I think that's all I'm going to... we can talk about, other things, but really, hot cross buns... making and eating of hot cross buns according to book, dates and meanings of religious and other festivals were used as a symbol of the cross. And although it is thought to have originated from the pagans with the bun representing the moon and its four quarters, it is thought to have come from the moon and its four quarters representing the cross on the hot cross buns. I never heard of a hot cross bun until I came here. I think my mom just bypassed that. It also comes from offering up a bull, and the horns of the bull became the hot, they did worship and offer these animals, and so and then when they made their now where did I read about them eating the buns? That's in the Bible too. All right, well anyway, pagans offer buns to Zeus as a cake baked in the form of a bull with a cross representing horns. And for centuries it says the hot cross buns were made and eaten every Good Friday and were thought to have the power to cure illness. And then, that's it. The prophet Jeremiah points out that the cakes were offered to the Queen of Heaven in Jeremiah 7:18 through 19. And so that's another thing. I don't know, everything else that people do at Easter time now, I don't know. I haven't really much paid attention to it. I'm just kind of looking at the history of what brought them down to bring them to what they're doing now. And it's not worshiping Yahweh as he really is and actually exists. And we're tremendously blessed by Yahweh to have given us this, first of all, having given Dr. Kinley a divine vision and revelation in 1931. And he went about to prove this with all his heart and all his strength, with tears and sweat and everything that he offered up so that we might have this now. And what more can we do but just continue on, because we're many. This was one. And we're many now, and we can all share that within the body of Yahshua. And I say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Dr. Craig. That brings a close to our class for today. Are there any comments or questions? Indeed. All right, announcements are as follows. Classes are held every Wednesday and Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and Sundays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All workshops are held the first 4 Sundays of each month, and they begin at 9 a.m. And as a note, there will not be a 9 a.m. workshop class next Sunday. Our after-class question and answer period is the third Friday of each month, and I believe that will be next Friday. The school is supported by its members. Pledges are due at the beginning of each month. Donations are welcomed and greatly appreciated. For either one, please see our treasurer. And from the Office of Public Relations, you can view our class on YouTube. You can also contact us at Facebook, WordPress, and Twitter. All donations for our streaming project are greatly appreciated. Class announcements are as follows. This is a spiritual operation of the doxology so that we may be dismissed. I will be quoting the last 2 verses of the book of Jude from the Holy Name Bible. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power, both before all time and now and ever. Let us all say, hallelujah. What do you want, about 15 minutes? Okay. We will be starting the meeting in 5 to 7 minutes. There is food out in the lobby area for anyone that would like to consume mass quantities before the meeting.
Caught up in a world they say happened by chance. They wanna believe that it's all in their hands. They try to convince me they shape their own destinies. But if they knew Yah like I know Yah, they'd get down on their knees. Yes, if they knew Yah like I know Yah, they get down on their knees. They don't know He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show, yeah. He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. Freedom of choice is the law they're spreading around. Divine intervention is nice if God is ever around. They don't want to believe their every step was patterned by Him, that He's got it wrapped up tight, line upon line. They're going back to spirit again. He's got it wrapped up tight, line upon line. They're going back to spirit again. They don't know He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. He's Alpha, Omega, Almighty Creator, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Alpha and Omega, Almighty Creator, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Of the world. You see, He told Jeremiah, I made you a prophet long before this earth had shape without form, before it was void. Yeah. He said, I possessed your ways before I made the deep blue sea. I am the cause, the reason for it all, and all I had to do was speak. Yes, I am the cause, the reason for it all, and all I had to do was speak. They don't know He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show, yeah. He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. He's Alpha, Omega, Almighty Creator, slain from the Lamb slain from the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, Alpha and Omega, Almighty Creator, yeah, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the Lamb slain from the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, of the world, of the world. Caught up in a world they say happened by chance. They wanna believe that it's all in their hands. They try to convince me they shape their own destinies. But if they knew Yah like I know Yah, they'd get down on their knees. Yes, if they knew Yah like I know Yah, they get down on their knees. They don't know He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show, yeah. He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. Freedom of choice is the law they're spreading around. Divine intervention is nice if God is ever around. They don't wanna believe their every step was patterned by Him, that He's got it wrapped up tight, line upon line. They're going back to spirit again. He's got it wrapped up tight, line upon line. They're going back to spirit again. They don't know He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. He's in complete control. Elohim is running His show. He's Alpha, Omega, Almighty Creator, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, Alpha and Omega, Almighty Creator, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world, of the world. You see, He told Jeremiah, I made you a prophet long before. This earth had shape without form before it was void, yeah. He said, I possessed your ways before I made the deep blue sea. I am the cause, the reason for it all, and all I had to do was speak. Yes, I am the cause, the reason for it all, and all I had to do was